All right, everybody, welcome to TCCOA. We are going to take a dashboard out of the car here in the junkyard today. And you can see it's not really as complicated as everyone thinks, but we'll start here with a little bit of tools, okay? We're going to do this fast as we can go. I got an electric impact. You don't always have to have that. You can do it by hand, but I love it, so we got it. An electric ratchet helps. You need a Phillips screwdriver. A couple of picks doesn't hurt. You need a 10mm socket, an 8mm socket, a 7mm socket. You'll need at least a 13. I got a 13 for a 1/2 inch for the impact. I got a 15 1/2 inch drive for the impact. And I got a flashlight, a little cheater, a big flat blade screwdriver, and an adapter in case I use a varying degree of sockets. The only other thing I got to grab that we need will be an 11 or a 7/16 for a couple of little things. And really, that's just about everything we should need. So let's get started. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to do is talk about taking out the center console. Now, we're in the junkyard, so someone's already kind of gone through this. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to talk about what's going to happen here if you do this for yourself, so you know what's up. On any of our center consoles from 94 to 97, you're going to find there will be 2 Phillips screws right here, okay, to take the console lid off, or the cup holder lid. And all you would do is grab that and you would pull it gently and it'll pop out. Now this has already been taken out, so I apologize, we can't show you that exactly that is, but most guys, if we're working on our cars now, you've done this already. You'll see there's pop clips right here in these 4 places, and they stick in right here in the center console, like in these 4 little things. And all you got, like I said, you take the screws out and you just kind of apply gentle upward force and they'll start to come, and then you can work your fingers around the edges and take this out. Okay, so someone's already done this. Then we move that out of our way. Then you open up the console lid. This is a 96, so it's got a cup holder in here. And then down here at the bottom, there will be two 7mm screws. Okay, and you just take those out. You don't need to take out any of these from the black plastic or the surrounds, just the 2 at the very bottom. They are usually covered up by this guy. So you got to take the little rubber thing out of the bottom like that, 2 screws. Then we're going to move forward. On each corner of the console down here, there will be a Phillips screw. One on this side, there's one on the opposite side in the same place. We don't even need to go look at it. Then you're going to come up here, and the last thing you're going to run into is going to be, there's a bracket here. Now someone's undone this already. There's 2 screws here and 2 screws down. You take all 4 out, set them to the side, then the bracket comes off. That gives you some room to work. Then you can just kind of put that aside. Now, electrical connections. At this point, that's everything you need to do to get the console to move. There will be a connection here for the shifter wires. Okay, one of these is for the overdrive button, the little white ones are, and then the black and brown one are for the light on the shifter bezel. Okay, you'll unplug that right there, just kind of tuck it out of the way. Then you'll find that there's a couple of things here that kind of got tossed up. There's some wiring here, they all come up on here. So then what you do is you lift the console like this. Okay, now if this is your car, put the parking brake on. Before you shut off the power, pull the shifter back, and this comes out a lot easier. But we're in the junkyard, so this isn't going to move, there's no power. Then you would bring this up. You might, if you've never done this before, you'll have some resistance, because like this tube, this is the tube that sends air back to the back seat. That kind of gets hung up in there sometimes. It has some grip the first time it comes apart. Then you lift and you'll take the console out. And as you can see, somebody's kind of take a quick look at the wiring. This has kind of got tossed around in here because of the way someone took this apart. But there's the wiring that goes to the back, to the shifter. If it's an older one, like you'd see that some of these used to have the cigarette lighter adapter. No, I'm sorry, the trunk button right there, or the fuel popper. So there'll be a button there and there and there, but you really only need to disconnect this one, and then you disconnect from the front. You can leave the rest of the wiring in the console. It won't be in your way. Once you do that, like I said, there'll be these connectors here. Now this has already been undone. And you'll see these things be hiding on the bottom. This will be connected to the center console, and then like this one will be connected to some of the stuff under here. Now what we're going to do here is there's a bolt under here. Now go ahead and shine right down there. There's an 11mm bolt right here. You can use a 7/16, but it's 11mm. It's a stud that's real long. Right now, we're gonna come down here and I'm gonna grab something. We're gonna take that out. And that's the first thing we gotta do down here that you'll see me do. Okay, we got a 7/16 socket here on the ratchet. We're gonna come in here and grab these guys. Okay, so we're gonna come up here to the top now and we're gonna take this trim panel off. Now mind you, we're in the junkyard, so if it breaks, we don't care that much. But if this is your car, this is a great place to take some care. Our cars are 25 years old. This stuff gets real brittle. Don't do this in the cold months. We've discussed that at length on tccoa.com. This stuff will break. So basically you can either use a plastic pry tool or a little pick. I'm gonna use a pick because I'm in the junkyard and this car's never gonna rerun again. But you just kind of pull up, and there's a set of clips in here. Okay, and that comes up like this. Now over here on the right hand side is the sun load sensor on cars. Most cars have this with the automatic temperature control. You might not have it, but most of them do. And you just pull that out. Once that wire's out, you can take this panel off and you can set it aside. Now, up under the dash, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 8mm headed screws. Some of them have 5. This one's missing one. Maybe it's been taken apart before, who knows. So we get these out of here. If you're using power tools like I am on your car, don't let it hit the windshield. And they will fight a little. These are in there pretty tight. Pause. All right, guys, I don't have time for the little one, so I put an adapter on the big one. We're gonna make it go. Oh, that screw is screwed up. Okay, we'll come back around to that one. It's chewed up. Maybe this car's had the heater cord done before. One second. All right. Let's see if this can come out this way. Okay, got it. All right, the next thing that's going to come out is going to be the weather stripping and the A-pillar trim. You come over here, all you got to do is just grab this stuff and just pull it down. Now, if you're doing this on your own car, I usually only take out just enough, but it's in the junkyard. I'm just going to get it out of the way and set it aside. And the trim, you come up here and just pull. Real gentle, it'll come. Hiding stuff in there. Okay. Over here, there's a little pop button in there, little clip holding the bottom piece and the top piece together. You know, if you just pull that out like that, you can set it aside. And then while you're there, you want to pull up some of the floor molding a little bit so you can. Okay, I got a little panel trim remover. You can buy these things at Harbor Freight for under 10 bucks. You just kind of go in there and push down, grab that, pull that pin out, and then you can basically just wiggle out the lower trim. This will be the same on the other side. Okay, we're on passenger side. Here's the weather stripping. It's already been off on this car. Somebody busted the window up pretty good in here. We're going to pop off this lower trim a little bit so we can get this out of our way. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to reach up, come up top. We're going to gently pull on this guy and wiggle him out. We're going to come down here and get this pop clip that separates the top and the bottom, or holds the top and the bottom together. Sorry. And there should be this down here. Get that guy out the lower trim. Gotta grab it a little bit. Again, if this is your car, be gentle. There's a clip, a pop clip back here, or a Christmas tree, some people call them. You gotta pull that away from the A-pillar. See, there's the clip. I didn't point that out on the first side, but it goes in the hole there, so keep that in mind. And then this can get set aside. There's this black plastic trim right here. Since we're already here, we're going to take this off. It's covering up some wiring we're going to have to undo in the very near future. Pop that guy out, pull the trim out of the way, set that to the side. Now, important to note here, here's a 15mm bolt. This is the only bolt holding the mainstay of the dash on the passenger side. We'll take this out in a minute. You also see there's a bunch of wiring here. We're going to separate most of this. I'm going to take the glove box out in a second, and we'll work our way back over to the driver's side. Okay, the next part's going to be we're going to take the glove box out. Open the glove box up. On this 96, it has the little shock that holds the glove box, gives it some tension. I don't think the 97s have that, at least none I've ever seen. The earlier cars do. You pop the clip off of this guy so you can separate it right there from the actual glove box. You can just kind of tuck that out of the way for now. Close it. We're going to grab a 7mm, and there's 3 screws down here. And we're going to just pop these guys out. Do these by hand. Just a little side note, even when I do this kind of stuff in the junkyard, I always keep all these bolts for myself so that I have a large stock of T-bird bolts and my things at home. So, you know, my junkyard doesn't even charge for bolts. I don't even have to put them in my pocket. If I show them to them, they don't care. They just let me go. Okay, glove box comes out. That reveals some things. Now, we're going to come over here down by the kick panel area, and we're going to undo some wires here. So you pull this out. There's a black one. There's a blue one. These colors change from year to year. They're not, 96 is black, blue, and you got this kind of clear yellow thing. They're not all the same, but if you look carefully, you'll see which ones go up to the dash and which ones don't. So you just kind of push the pin, pull. This one, push the little pin, and pull. A little shot of WD-40 never hurts anything, quite frankly. I don't have any, but who cares? There we go. Okay, so that's separated. There's also, right here, there's an 8mm with a ground that's got to come out because it's grounding the dash to the A-pillar, and it needs to be removed. Okay, that's out, that's out. Now, while we're under, here's a couple of little things here. Now, this is important because this is what we want to try and make this, take the mystery out of this. You don't need to take everything out. There's just certain things you need to take out. These colored lines right here, they're not wires. These are vacuum tubes that go to the air conditioning controls. They'll be there whether you have manual or semi-automatic temperature control. You just push down on the pin, give this guy a little pull. If it gets stuck, shoot some WD-40 up there. You don't want to yank these hoses all apart. That's no fun for anybody. And then, Once the dash comes forward, the whole air conditioning box is going to stay in the car. You don't need to remove the black and orange. You do need to remove the top one. This car is semi-automatic temperature control, so this is the control box for the fan speed. The ones that have manual have a different box there, but it's basically the same thing that you got to take off. You got to just kind of pry up on it and work it out. If you want, you can also, here, I'll give you a different, if you want more room, you can take an 8mm like this and you can disconnect the box from the air box if you want, you know. For all you semi-automatic or temperature controlled guys who lose fan control, this is the box you need to replace, and this is how you do it. Okay, I'm going to sneak in right under here, under this wire bundle. Oh, there's three. Sorry. There's the third one right here. You can kind of tweak it up under there. Consequently, for everyone else who knows this, these boxes are getting hard to get. Sometimes it's worth it just to come get some at the junkyard to hang on to. So now what I'm doing is moving this a little bit out of the way so that we can come in here and then I can show you a little better and I can pull a little easier to get this out of here. There you go. Okay, and then you can literally just tuck that back in there. It's not coming with us when the dash comes out. Now, there's one other wire up here. I don't know if you can see up here, the black and, or I'm sorry, the clear and yellow one. This heads up towards where the blend door actuator is. So we want to undo this guy and pull down as well. For now, that stops everything we need to do on this side. Okay, one other thing we got to do before we pull the dash forward is there's a connector right here, this gray guy. This is the variable steering box for like the V8 cars. So all you do is reach on the top, there's a little button on it, and just pull. See the little button right there, and it comes out. And that should, by all accounts, free up the dash for the pulling forward. Now, one thing you will run into is going to be this wire right here. That's the antenna wire. It's kind of bundled in there, and you'll see as we take it out, you got to unplug it from the radio and kind of work that back. If you're just doing the heater core, you may not have to mess with this too much. Otherwise, if you're taking the dash out, I will peel this off. As we pull the dash out, I'm going to pull it out that way. Notice we didn't have to take out the airbag, we didn't take out the radio, we didn't take out the temperature controls or the dash surrounds. This dash will still come out, no problem. Okay. And then take this little air tube out of here. There's just one single Phillips screw. Comes out real easy, and you just pull this tube out so you have room. That helps us get the dashboard out when it's time to get the dashboard out, okay? And moving back over to the driver's side. Okay, real quick, we're also gonna take out the 15mm here while we're here, save time. If you're gonna do that by hand, it'll take a second, but it's not that bad. Now, back to driver's side. Okay, we're gonna take down the knee panel, the trim for the knee. There's 3 8mm screws, one here, here, and here. We'll take those out real fast. Similar to that, there's some pop clips behind this, so you're going to grab this real gentle like, okay? Plastic pry tool works good. I'm just going to use it quick because we don't really have to save this, but we're going to try and manhandle it. See, it pops out. There's 3. This one stayed in the dash. There's 2 on here and 1 there, and that takes that out. The next thing we're going to take out is going to be this little air tube right there with a single 7mm socket, 7mm screw. Comes out, and you just push this thing one direction and kind of work it out forward. Take that out of your way. It gives you room to access the stuff under the dash. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is there's a bolt under here under the U joint for the steering column. And I'm going to separate that because when I take the dash out, I'm taking the whole steering column with it. I'm not taking it out. We'll just pop that guy out real fast. There's the gun. Once you do that, you can just kind of push down on the steering shaft like that, and it's out of the way. The next thing we're going to do is there's a little bracket right over here to the right. Little black guy with two 13mm screws that also helps hold the dash in place. We're going to pop those out of there. Nice Vegas junkyard dust here. Off. Okay, there's a couple other things we're going to get to. Let me take a quick look and we will continue in a few minutes. But we're going to talk about it because right now I'm going to take this whole dash out. So what's going to happen is if you're doing a heater core or a blend door actuator, there's 4 13mm bolts on these brackets for the steering column that you can take out if you want. You can lower the steering column down and let the steering wheel sit on the seat, and then you don't even have to disconnect the shaft. You can do it either way. It's just an options. The more of these dashes I've taken out, I found it easier just to separate the 1 bolt here rather than the 4 there, because if you're taking the dash out, you can't leave the steering column in. And quite frankly, we find that by leaving the steering column bolted in, gives us something to hang on to when we're pulling the dash out, which helps. Now, there's 2 15mm screws on this side. There's one here, kind of in the same place as the one on the passenger side. But then there's one tucked up in here, back there, that we got to take out. And this is only on the driver's side. There's nothing like this on the passenger side. And then for everyone who wonders, here's like the infamous flasher module that people talk about. There's also, for some cars, there's also like an anti-theft relay right there too. But here we go. We're going to knock out these 15s with the big gun. And I'm sure Trunk Monkey would want me to find out if we can find the pole package mod in the back of this car. But not all the cars have the pole package mod possibility, so we'll look and see if we can find one behind the dash on this. Okay, now that we have those bolts out and those bolts out, believe it or not, there's enough stuff out of this dash that we can grab this dash and it's going to start to move. Now, again, if you're just doing a heater core or a blend door actuator, the next thing I'm going to talk about, you don't have to do at all. If you're taking the dash out, it's a must. I'm going to point up here, and this isn't going to help now, and I'm going to try and take another shot in a second, but back up here, there are 2 main giant connectors with 10mm screws in the end of them, or bolts, that like big bulkhead connectors that have almost every wire that goes in and out of the firewall in this car up there. If you're taking the dash out, these things got to come out. I'm going to try and get a shot, but it's kind of hard to see. Worst case, I'll show you what it looks like when the dash is out. They're not hard to get to. It really helps to just put a short 10mm socket on one of these electric ratchets and just reach up there and blast them. They come out real easy. Okay, we're going to try and see this. This is tough. Okay, that is the connector. I'm sorry, there's one right there with a 10mm, and then there's a little guy right there that you got to undo. The other one that comes out is the big one. Let's see if I can see this. Sorry, guys. See the big one back there? That one, if you're taking the dash out, gets disconnected from the engine compartment side and pushed through. And so I'm going to take this guy off, and then we will highlight this when the dashboard is out. All right, guys. Just want to take a better shot of the connector under the dash. If you look right here, this is the main bulkhead connector under the dashboard that you need to undo to pull out the dash. Right here is a wire that's really only applicable when you have an ABS car. But if you're taking the dash out and your car has this car's a 97, this car does not have ABS, but the wire's here, so you would pull the wire out. This connector is broken, so it just popped out. But it just kind of has a little placeholder that holds it in place. If your car has ABS, there'd be another wire on the end of this. And then we take, you undo this 10mm screw and back that out. Now, if you come up above, you'll see the main connector right up there that goes into the firewall that goes into the engine compartment. That's the second wiring connector, but that we undo from the firewall side and then you push back through. Two other things you need to disconnect if you're completely pulling the dash. Let's see, here, there's your ABS, I'm sorry, not ABS, that's the wire for the cruise control. That's the brake on off switch for the cruise control. You got to unplug that. And then you come back just a little bit and we'll see the actual wire connector for the, the brake light switch. Those things need to be undone as well. Everything else on here you can pretty much leave alone, but that will get you where you want to go. So if you want to take the dash out, you got to come under here and take that guy. That's in here. Oh, got a little bit further. Okay, we're going to take the dash out here in a second. One of the last things that has to happen is we have to disconnect the big bulkhead connector for the main harness. So I'm going to come in here with a long 10 and my electric ratchet. Almost. We're almost there. I got it. So that tucks out. And you can just, it's a big guy, but you can kind of push it down or tuck it out of the way. You can also disconnect like the vapor hose for the, or the vacuum hose for the brake booster and tuck it out of the way. One thing that has to happen here is you got to push that connector through. So I got to get a big screwdriver and there's just two little grabbers on each side of the bulkhead connector that we're going to have to shove. I'm going to push this in, kind of give this guy a shove, and then I'm going to push the other side in and give that a shove. And that's in. That's the last thing that's going to help us get the dash out of this car. Okay, now we're almost ready to pull the dash forward. One important thing to note is up here under this part of the dash from one side to the other on the firewall, Ford puts an absorbent foam. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch thick, but it's there to prevent noise and vibration. But after 25 years, it can very easily stick to the top of the inside of the dash. And this one did, and honestly off camera, my son and I kind of had to pry and wiggle it. This dash is wrecked, so we kind of fussed with it. If it's your car and it's a beautiful dashboard, you kind of want to do this in the summertime when you get some heat on it and that stuff starts to kind of loosen up a little bit. Other than that, this thing's ready to come forward. So then what you can do is you can grab onto the bar here back where the glove box was, and you can start to pull it forward like this. Okay, so we're going to look at this right now for the perspective of you're just doing a heater core or a blend door actuator or both, and you're going to start to work the dash forward. Now, here's where I come in with the antenna wires here. Now, this is on some clips. I don't know if we can see this. I'm going to turn the courtesy light out of the way and kind of get this out of the way. It's got Christmas trees on the wiring harness. You need to kind of get that forward so we can continue to come forward. You can see the rest of the wiring comes along with it, like this, okay? So, now I'm going to, if you come in here, now you can see. Let me grab my screwdriver. Here's your blend door actuator. There's your heater core door right there. There's two screws, an 8mm here and here on this side of the heater core. Blend door actuator is 3 8mm screws. Very easy to get to in this case. The trick to do this from then is to come through where the glove box was. So I don't know if we can see that. Right there's the door, and you can reach right through and get to these things. I'm gonna go to the other side and pull the dash forward just a little bit more, but that's all the room you really need to do the heater core and to do the blend door actuator. You just need enough room to slide the heater core out. I'll even take the door off and the actuator out in this position so you can see. Let me do that in the next shot. Real quick, I'm going to show one thing here. Down at the bottom of the dash, it's all metal down here. Just as we try to pull it forward, the metal part's getting caught on the carpet. So you need to kind of come and lift the dash a little bit. You need to kind of make sure the carpet's out of the way, and then you can come forward, and it gives you a lot of room. Okay, real quick, I'm going to move part of the wheel well liner out so I can unplug the antenna from the antenna. So I'm just going to pop out this clip here. And well, I'm going to take the whole liner. Pop out that clip there. There's a Phillips screw over here. And there's 3 right here. Actually, I need to take that one out. Okay, one second. Then there's 2 up under here. Let's see if I can reach that. For those of you who have never removed a wheel well liner, that's how we do it. So from there, you come up under here, you wiggle it out, and just kind of work it out. There it goes. Now, we're going to come in here, and one of the things I'm looking for is the antenna. So there's this sound deadening pad here. There's just these pins. You just pull these guys off. They're just kind of pushed down there, and this comes off. Now, if you want to come look up here, up in here, there's a wire that powers the antennas right there. That's already unplugged. And then the antenna wire is just up top here, and all you gotta do is just pull it down. Now, and you point to this hole, then this goes right into back into the car. This is the antenna and the power antenna wire. That gets that out of our way, and that'll help us get the dash out. And cut. Okay, so we just took out the bulkhead connector from the side of the engine compartment, and we're pretty much ready to remove the dash. The only other thing under there that we've disconnected is there's the wire that goes to the brake light switch, and there's one other connector right to it that goes to the cruise control stop-start switch. Other than that, this dash is ready to come forward. As you can see, it's already pulled forward on the passenger side from where we kind of checked out the heater core stuff. And now I'm going to pull it from this side. You can see this thing is completely loose, pretty much ready to go. Now I'm doing this by myself. And if we'd have brought a third guy, we'd have had somebody just shoot us doing it. As you can see, it'll come right out.